Pretty torn on this one, me, because I consider myself a pretty decent Bryan Bam Bam Barberena fan, and he's taking on Gunnar, aka Gunny Nelson, in this one. And got to give it to Gunnar Nelson because he had dropped two straight. He lost that close, controversial split decision to Leon Scott, and then he lost that dominant, unanimous, obvious decision to Gilbert Burns. So it was two straight, three of four. You're wondering what Gunny had left in the tank, and he put on an absolute clinic against Takashi Sato back in March of last year. And while it wasn't a fight where Sato he didn't beat him up on the feet, and it was a definite methodical, typical successful Gunny performance when he is having success. And but the way that he was able to just get him down and do what he wanted with him, I thought was very impressive. And he's just got a very well-rounded ground game that a lot of guys, once they get stuck under, are unable to really deal with. So I'm interested to see how Bam Bam Barberena is able to deal with the known game plan that Gunny will be bringing. Right, he's very light on his feet. He's got that sort of karate stance, but he's also just a nightmare on the ground. So I got to imagine that he's going to be willing to strike with Bam Bam to a degree, but if he eats any of those heavy elbows or heavy strikes that Bam Bam will be throwing back at him, then I gotta imagine it's clinch right away. It's pinning up against the cage. It's make this thing pretty Gunnar Nelson ugly like he is able to do usually, and might have some success against Bam Bam, who, when we saw most recently, just lost to RDA, and that was unfortunate too because he had won three straight going into that. He was picking up. It seemed like fight of the night every time he fought. Matt Brown, Robbie Lawler, both those were absolute wars. And then there's a litany of close, fun fights that Bam Bam Barberena has been in before that. So, what are your ideas of how Bam Bam looks in this fight? Do you think that Gunnar is going to capitalize on what essentially is a home match for him, or is the boy from Arizona coming to steal this show?
Yeah, I think the Arizona boy is going to absolutely steal the show. I like these odds. He's always right there. And I worry, if it does go to the ground, but I gotta believe Bam Bam is prepared. He's been getting better and better. He's beaten some really tough guys, some really notable name guys, I would say. Maybe it's not in their peak career, but he still beat big names, and that's a lot of pressure on him. And also, they're still so skilled guys, even if it's on their last end of their like career, I guess you could say. But I don't know. I just have a hunch that Bam Bam's going to come out, swang and bang, and get an upset TKO.
Yeah, it's swinging and banging is what he loves to do, right? Like you know what you're getting from Brian Bam Bam Barberena. Like he's gonna bite down, he's coming to throw down. He doesn't need to wrestle if you don't want to, basically, and he's gonna bring the show and hopefully steals the show because I mean we were looking forward to the original matchup between Gunnar Nelson and Daniel Rodriguez, which unfortunately just fell through a couple weeks ago, right? So kudos to Brian Bam Bam Barberena for stepping up, and you got to imagine he was probably one of the first dudes that the UFC called. Like, who can we get that's going to deliver as fun of a fight as D-Rod and is crazy enough to fight in a couple weeks' notice in London? Call Bam Bam Barberena. You know that dude will be down. So, do you make anything of that opponent switch? Is there anything different that Gunnar Nelson might have to prepare for in a fight against Barberena, or do you find Barberena and Rodriguez to be pretty similar stylistically, and therefore maybe not a lot had to change from Gunnar's end?
Yeah, I think Gunnar will be ready. I think he just needs to, be ready for the chaos, be ready for the endurance, keep the cardio pumping. This should be honestly a fight of the night, performance of the night, finish of the night. It's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be an absolute just great fight for the fans. And I feel like not many people, especially the casuals, really know these guys, but these are gonna be guys that are really gonna set the tone for the night of the upcoming fights that are just gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely going to be a fun fight that if you're unfamiliar with either of these guys, then you won't be by the end of it for sure. And Marvin and Roman Dolidze, I think, are going to kick off the main card well, and then Gunnar versus Bam Bam will continue that all the way through the rest of this card for sure. And if you look at Typology, 80% is rolling with Gunny. Majority is Copper for that sub, so they tend to think that those defensive grappling deficiencies that Bam Bam Barberena has shown might rear their ugly head against Gunny, and Gunny will be able to get the sub, but 20% is rolling with Bam Bam. It's about half and half, so going for that KO TKO YOLO, and the other rolling for a decision, which I think would be kind of interesting because I don't know. I think it's gonna be difficult to win a decision against Gunnar Nelson with the way he fights. But if Barberena can, I guess, just land an accumulation of strikes, but in so doing not put out Gunny, then maybe he can win a decision. But I tend to think that if Bam Bam gets this done, it'll be by KO TKO to your point. But I got to roll with Gunnar Nelson. I just think he will be able to get a takedown. He'll probably end up winning what I hate to say it, but what might become a snooze of a decision. In the sense that this fight might look a lot like how Gunnar versus Sato looked, where there's a lot of grappling. You're going to want to see more stand-up than maybe will be offered, and as a result, Gunnar probably wins a decision. But I hope I'm wrong in that because I'm hoping it's just an absolute drag-him-out slobber knocker because that's what Barberena is going to prefer. We'll just see if he has the skills in order to make that happen. So going to take Nelson, going to go by decision, but heart will definitely be with Bam Bam. Any last thoughts?
No, yeah, this is a great matchup, a lot of fun. So in the comments, who you taking, Bam Bam or Gunny?